What a win and what a night for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They knock off the New York Jets at home on Sunday Night Football, 37-15. Back-to-back 30 points for the Steelers. Back-to-back games with 30 points. And Russell Wilson's performance tonight, we'll be talking about it here on the Bleav in Steelers postgame show. Welcome in. My name is Mark Bergin. Before I get into my post-game reaction, today's episode of Bleav in Steelers is brought to you by betonline.ag. They'll take care of your NFL gambling needs this season. We're well into the NFL season. If you want to get in on the football action, we're into the World Series, hockey's underway, basketball's right around the corner. betonline.ag is the place to do it. Use our promo code Bleav. That's BLEAV to get started over at betonline.ag. BetOnline, the game starts here. Russell Wilson started slow. It is clear to me he's a much better passer than Justin Fields. A really good problem for the Steelers to have. They score back-to-back games with 30-plus points. It's clear to me, though, he's a better passer than Fields at this point, and particularly his ability to get George Pickens the ball opens up so many other things with the Steelers offense. And this is where we kind of have to give Mike Tomlin the benefit of the doubt. Year 18, he's seen it all. He's done it all in his career. And I'll be honest with you, I thought Fields should have started, but it's clear to me that you have a good problem in that if Wilson gets hurt, you have a guy more than capable of coming in Justin Fields that can do the job. And the Steelers now off to a 5-2 start. We'll talk about next weekend's matchup towards the end of today's show against the Giants. You should be 6-2, which 6-2 after your first 8 games. You're 5-2 right now. You take it 1 week at a time. Huge win tonight, and a lot of that is Russell Wilson's ability to get his best player of the football, and that's George Pickens. 16 of 29 for Wilson, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pickens, 5 catches, 111 yards, and a score. It's his touch. It's his ability to stretch the field. It's his ability to read defenses. He had a sidearm throw at one point. And there's a reason why Russell Wilson's a future Hall of Fame quarterback, and you got to see what you have in him in addition to Fields, considering they're both on one-year contracts. It was anyone's guess in terms of when that would happen, but we see that on full display with the team in the Jets that had its back against the wall. The Jets absolutely had to win this game. Just to recap for you really quickly. Fired their head coach in Robert Saleh, changed their play caller and the offensive coordinator, traded for Aaron Rodgers' best buddy Devontae Adams, finally signed Hassan Riddick as well. Doesn't matter. Does not matter in tonight's game. And the Steelers improve to 5-2. The Jets now 2-5. You leave the Jets for dead, if you will. And I don't know if receiver is the Jets' problem. Really what flipped the momentum of this game, and we could talk about Fields, we could talk or Wilson, we could talk about the offense and everything. Beanie Bishop for the Steelers, 2 interceptions, but particularly the second interception where he jumps up, and I think he distracted Garrett Wilson just enough, and it bounces into his hands, right place, right time. It was luckier than good because it was right in Garrett Wilson's breadbasket. He bobbles it. Beanie Bishop picks up his second interception of the game and almost runs it back for a touchdown. I thought that might have been the biggest play in tonight's game. I thought that Beanie Bishop, played his best game as a Steeler. He was outstanding tonight for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Beanie Bishop, from a defensive standpoint, might get the game ball. He was absolutely terrific. 6 total tackles. He had 5 solo tackles, a tackle for a loss, and 2 pass deflections. And then again, the 2 interceptions as well. Peyton Wilson, 10 tackles. Deshaun Elliott, what a signing that's been. The big hit at the end, laying the boom, 6 tackles. They were everywhere tonight. Absolutely everywhere tonight, this defense. Minka Fitzpatrick on the penalty on the extra point, thought that might cost the Steelers, and then the Jets convert on the 2-point conversion to open up their lead 15-6. It was a 2-score game at that point. I don't know if definitively he propelled himself up into the air, but you can't use another player to propel you on the field goal block. They called on the field because whether he did it or not, it kind of looked like he did. And I thought that that might cost the Steelers, and it didn't end up costing them. And it was a Beanie Bishop interception where it's like, all right, the Steelers have to turn this into points to make it a 1-score game before half, and they did that. Understanding the down, the distance, the situation before the end of the first half, I thought was huge to make it a 15-13 game at halftime. I thought was huge to be able to not just get points, but to get a touchdown on that drive. To get a touchdown on that drive before the end of the first half. I thought that was absolutely huge for Pittsburgh's standpoint. And capped off, Russell Wilson to Pickens. Pickens played his best game of the season tonight. And if anything, it's as simple as this with Russ. You could say the touch, that's one thing, and his passing ability, his ability to get the Steelers' best offensive skill position player the ball in George Pickens might be the difference right now between Wilson and Fields. Another guy I want to give a shout out to, Najee Harris. Back-to-back weeks where he's looked really, really good. Najee leading the charge, 21 carries, 102 yards on the ground, a touchdown. He had a long run for 34 yards as well. Najee's playing really well on contract season. He looks more nimble in the open field this year. Coming into shape, lighter. That to me is on display. He's never going to be a breakaway, hey, let me take it the distance anytime, any place type back. He's a chain mover. But his ability to make guys miss in the open field, and he's not just stuck in that first gear because he lost weight coming into this season. This is the Najee Harris we've been waiting for when you drafted him in the first round out of Alabama. Contract season, psychologically, what that does for a player like Najee Harris. Thought he played a really nice game as well. I'll go through a few of the other Steelers receivers. Pat Freiermuth, 2 catches, 51 yards. Calvin Austin had a catch for 36 yards. Darnell Washington, 4 catches on all 4 targets, 36 yards. Get Mount Washington the football. I love seeing them use that play action boot. You get Washington in the flat going downfield. A guy who's 6'7", probably closer to 300 pounds coming downhill at you. Way to get him the football. Like, I would not want to tackle Darnell Washington in the open field. Wow. So to see him really get rolling, I think that's the most catches he's had in a single game as a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Van Jefferson had 2 catches for 15 yards, including the touchdown. Jaylen Warren had 2 catches as well out of the backfield for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 264 yards, 16-29 for Russell Wilson tonight. The passing ability is there. So with him, it was the concern for me was, can you still control the clock? But clearly the Steelers could do that. They win time of possession, had the ball for more than 32 minutes. You win the turnover battle again, 2-0. Amazing what happens of how you can play winning football when you win time of possession, you win the turnover battle. And the Steelers did not turn the ball over either. I'll be honest, at the end of the game, going for it on 4th and short instead of kicking the field goal where you're up 15 and then it would have made it an 18-point lead to make it a 3-possession game. Don't know if that made a ton of sense, but the Steelers able to get a score to get Najee Harris into the end zone at the end of the game. It really doesn't end up mattering. Russell Wilson ended up converting on his quarterback sneaks tonight. I do think that it's a little bit easier with Justin Fields, given that he's a bigger quarterback, both from a height and a weight standpoint. But Russ, even in year 13, proving that he can still pick up a quarterback sneak when needed, had a few key conversions on 4th down. And then I know he had a rushing touchdown as well. What a debut for Russell Wilson tonight. Again, it started off a little bit rough, but really, again, the key was getting that score before the end of halftime. And then in the second half, his ability to throw the ball down the field and then the touch, which if Justin Fields is watching, hopefully he can take that away of not every ball needs to be a fast ball. I know when to take things off. I know when to take a shot. I know when to take a chance. Russ had he had one to Pickens where I don't know how Pickens hung on to it. He was bobbling it around. He had another one to Freiermuth down the field where it was just like, let's draw it up how we used to in the backyard, to where only Freiermuth could catch the ball. He's able to get under it and run under it. And it helps negate the pass rush where it's like, oh man, they're really bearing down on Russ. And he just flips it up there and trusts his receiver to go make a play. Again, it's a reason why he's a future Hall of Famer, at least in my opinion. 9-time Pro Bowler. I know he's only got one Super Bowl championship. I think he should have 2. But you see what you have in him this year. And it's a great problem to have. Again, I probably would have started him next week against the Giants, but able to get it done in prime time. Russ is accustomed to playing in these big time games as well. For all the years he did it in Seattle. And maybe he can turn back the clock and get a revenge season for everyone who wrote him off for dead and said, hey, his best days are behind him. And at least for a night, the Pittsburgh Steelers blowing out the Jets 37-15. Kudos to Russell Wilson and company in this offense. Finally started to get rolling in the second half. The Steelers scored 24 points in the second half. So I mentioned Beanie Bishop too. How about the field goal block and then saying, let's march right down the field and go score again? Complimentary football for the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight. Complimentary football. And the most blocks, whether it's punts, field goals, kicks, what have you, since 2022, hats off to Danny Smith and the special teams unit. Because that's a huge difference of, hey, we're keeping points off the board, and then we're going to march down and go score. And that should be from the Pittsburgh 17, a 35-yard field goal should be a chip shot. You prevent a Jet score. You go down the following drive, an 11-play, 75-yard drive. And you go score a touchdown, capped off by Russell Wilson's touchdown to Van Jefferson. It's nice to see another receiver. It's nice to see receivers score touchdowns tonight. It was great to see. It was great to see. And especially a game that the Jets absolutely had to have if they wanted to have any chance at making the playoffs this year. Had to have it. And back-to-back wins, 30-plus points. This is what we wanted to see for years with this offense with the Pittsburgh Steelers. With Randy Fichtner and Matt Canada. Matt Canada gets fired. You got the interim last year. It's like, what's Arthur Smith going to do with this unit? I think Arthur Smith's done a very nice job with this team. And what you can finally do to get going. And it's October the 20th. We're excited after Sunday Night Football win. If the Steelers brought in another receiver to help this offense, what that could potentially do, just saying. I'm just saying. You could then take another level to all of this. But I thought Russ did very well in his debut. And I know a lot of people are fired up about this too. But it was 15-6 late in the first half. It seemed like the Jets were figuring it out. It's like same old Steelers. Rodgers throws at the interception, bounces off Garrett Wilson, and maybe it was a bad pick, but I think that was Bishop's first interception where he reached for it with one hand. Rodgers throws the pick and cut it to 15-13 at half. You get into the second half towards 30-15, and now the Jets at 2-5, their season's over. What a team does when it's desperate, how they play, backs against the wall. This was a kitchen sink game for the Jets, and you go and beat them handily tonight, 37-15. It's exciting because the Jets absolutely needed this, and they needed this not just for where they're at in the season, but also saying, oh, well, we're going to go get Devontae Adams. They pulled the box score too. I think they held him in check very, very well. And look, Rodgers is going to make some plays. Talk about another Hall of Fame quarterback, very good quarterback. But by and large, I thought that the Steelers did a really good job. And the 2 interceptions by Bishop, the undrafted rookie, what a game and what a performance for him tonight. And redemption too, because he was getting picked on a little bit early on in this season. And I thought he played his best game tonight. Rodgers was 24 of 39, 276 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Only 1 sack. Rodgers can get rid of the ball really quickly. I thought the Jets actually did a really nice job holding TJ Watt intact. Breece Hall out of the backfield, 6 catches, 103 yards. He was their top receiver. Garrett Wilson, 5 catches for 61 yards. Devontae Adams, 3 catches, 30 yards, 9 targets for Devontae Adams. Steelers did a great job. That's very poor efficiency from the Jets from their offensive standpoint. And that'll come with time. They haven't played together in a few years. I get it. But Adams and Wilson and Breece Hall, 2-5. 2-5 for the Jets. Let's get to what Yins think. This is where viewers can weigh in with their comments. There's several ways to do this in the live chat. If you want to call in to Bleav in Steelers, I will take calls here. Tap the StreamYard link in the live chat if you're interested in doing that. Also read some written comments. A lot of people checking in here live. And let's see where we want to start. A lot of people fired up. Casual Friday checking in. Regular viewers saying, where are the Dangerous haters at? Yeah, led by a pack of Badgers tonight if you're in the Russell Wilson camp. Casual Friday, thank you for checking in. Casual Friday also saying Beanie Bishop game ball. I agree. For an undrafted rookie on the stage of primetime Sunday night football, and he's going to get picked on, not just as a rookie, but as an undrafted player in the slot corner position, the nickelback position. I thought he was outstanding tonight. Joey Jr. saying, I told you Russell Wilson is head over heels better than Justin Fields will ever be. It's one game. We're excited. We're fired up. Certainly liked what you saw with Russell Wilson tonight. Certainly he's a better passer than Justin Fields. But there's a lot more to quarterbacking than just passing the football. We're excited after tonight. Are we sure the Jets are any good? Are they going to totally unravel as well? Let's see what happens in the coming weeks. And you should take care of business on Monday Night Football in Week 8 against the New York Giants. Joey, thank you for checking in. Thank you for the comment. Tony saying, talk to me, Mark. I told you last week, sir. I told you what would happen if Russ got in there. People are saying, let Russ cook. It's amazing. A lot of people are very, very excited. I am too. Like, look, I'm on record saying I would have started Fields, but whoever the Steelers quarterback is, they're going to need to move the football and to execute this offense. They're different quarterbacks, no doubt. I think there's games where Fields would be better suited, where you need his mobility, you need his legs. But tonight, for me, it's as simple as this with Wilson. And I don't know if tonight's game would have made much of a difference, whoever was quarterback. But to me, it's as simple as this with what Wilson did tonight. He got the ball to the Steelers' best offensive skill position player consistently, and that's George Pickens. That's as simple as I can put it. He got the ball to the Steelers' best offensive weapon. That's what a quarterback needs to do, and that's what he did tonight in getting the ball to George Pickens. 5 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown. 9 targets. Want to see that improve, but not afraid to throw the ball down the field to your top playmaker. It's as simple as that. Tony's saying, I told everyone that he was good in Denver with a subpar team. Trust Tomlin always. You got to give Mike Tomlin the benefit of the doubt in year 18. You know, like, we want the Steelers to have success. I get it. He's going to know what's best in year 18. He's been around the block a time or two. Now, that first year in Denver, when Nathaniel Hackett was the head coach, not a good season for Russell Wilson. Last year, he did not get benched for performance. He got benched because of that contract to say, hey, if he gets hurt, then we're going to owe him even more money and we're stuck with him versus to be able to move on from him this past offseason? Was it for performance of why Russell Wilson got benched in 2023? He actually played well a season ago. Played well tonight as well in his debut for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's see what else. Lifelong fan checking in saying Russell Wilson equals decisiveness and touch. You expect that from a veteran quarterback. A lot more decisive than Fields. Fields has the ability of, if he doesn't like it, he can tuck it and run. He can use his legs. He can run away from people. Let's see what else people are saying. Chad checking in saying Wilson showed us what a veteran professional quarterback is and can do. Confidence. Yeah. Well put, Chad. Well put. The decisiveness. You knew he was going to be sharp. Even in the preseason game, the one drive Russell Wilson played led the Steelers to a field goal. You just knew it's just like a half step, maybe to a full step quicker than Fields. That's not a knock on Fields. It's just Russ has been in the game much longer. He's played in a lot more big-time games than Fields. Chad, thank you for checking in. Yancey saying too many missed tackles. I noticed this on the long reception that Breece Hall had. Way too many missed tackles. I'm with you there, but only 15 points given up. You're going to win most games in this league if you only allow 15 points from a defensive standpoint. I hear what you're saying, Yancey, but thank you for checking. Appreciate the comment. Lifelong fan saying Deshaun Elliott best signing. Yeah. How about laying the boom at the end to force the Jets to a fourth down? Making plays. Time after time after time after time again. Deshaun Elliott with another nice performance tonight. And he finishes with 6 tackles. He was the second leading tackler for the Steelers. Peyton Wilson had 10. Elliott had 6. Beanie Bishop had 6. Beanie Bishop, again, 6 tackles, 5 of those solos, a TFL, 2 pass deflections, and the 2 interceptions tonight. Game ball to him. Outstanding. Tony, thank you for the contribution on the super chat. Appreciate this. Mark saying, what did I say? I knew I was right. Yeah, Tony, listen, you called it with Russ. But let's see this in multiple games and not just against the New York teams, the Giants and the Jets. Weren't very good this year. The Jets season could just totally blow up here. We don't know, but where do you go from here if you're the Jets? Yikes. Tony, I appreciate you checking in. I appreciate you contributing to the super chat. Lifelong fan. This is an interesting comment saying sign Najee. I'm not opposed, but for what price? I'm not opposed to keeping Najee Harris in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform. The last 2 weeks is perhaps the best he's looked. He has been much better this year in the open field. You see it with your eyes. First 3 seasons, because he's bigger, he's a bruiser, he's a deer. He hasn't had that breakaway speed. I don't expect Najee Harris to rip off an 80-yard touchdown. That's not the style of runner he is. But to be able to make guys miss in the open field, we saw it tonight. We saw it a week ago where he's able to bust a few loose where it's like, I haven't seen this from him at an NFL level. Najee Harris, more than 100 yards back-to-back weeks. I'm not opposed to signing Najee. The question is for what price? He might be able to get a better deal with another team. His durability, his professionalism, he doesn't fumble the ball. I'm not opposed to keeping Najee around. It's really more so an indication of what a running back costs in this league. And that's why they didn't pick up the 5th-year option for next year for $6.6 million. Might end up being around that price. We'll see. I wouldn't mind having Najee Harris continuing to be in a Steelers uniform. And this line is finally starting to round into shape because young guys are finally getting their opportunity and they're starting to finally gel because you've had a lot of different line combinations as well. And that's another thing with what Russ did tonight. That was a concern that I had going into this game was how does Russ hold up against what's been an injury-riddled offensive line? Didn't matter tonight. And Najee Harris has been going north and south too. He's had really back-to-back weeks. He's been very good for the Steelers. Let's see. Russ checking in. Russ saying, all media picked us to lose. How about Beanie, I said he will get good, and Najee breaks 100 again. I said at the start of the season, this team is going to win Super Bowl. Russ made downfield passes. Russ, I listen. I love your optimism about Russ. Russ, I love your optimism about Russ and Russell Wilson. Super Bowl, I don't know about that. I don't think this Jets team is very good. I don't think this Giants team that you're going to face in a week is very good. What do you do on the back half of the year? What do you do over a several game stretch? You should beat the Giants. I'm going to keep going through comments. Found a few stats about the Giants. Daniel Jones got benched today in their game. Daniel Jones today set the NFL record for the most consecutive home games without a passing touchdown since 1970 with 6. Need a minimum of 20 attempts. Set an NFL record. Most consecutive home games without a touchdown since 1970. That's who you're going up against, or Drew Lock next week on Monday Night Football. So the Giants pulled Jones early in the fourth quarter, got absolutely walloped 28-3 against their division rival and the Philadelphia Eagles. Saquon Barkley revenge game. Giants aren't very good either. You should win that game if you're the Steelers, and we'll see what the spread ends up being. It might already be out. If someone has it, drop it in the chat. And the Steelers are going to be favored again at home. I promise you that. Against a Giants team that's not very good. Against a Giants team that's not very good. Tony saying 5-2 and counting. Let's win the division. Lifelong fan saying Najee is reliable. No doubt about that. Could you upgrade, though? Potentially. Let's see what else. Tony saying I need a terrible towel emoji. I love it, Tony. That's great. Terry saying this is the team that can win our first playoff game in forever. January of 2017 is the last time you won a playoff game if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't disagree. I think most rational Steelers fans would feel that way. Of maybe not the Super Bowl this year. Obviously, you want to win the Super Bowl. But to do that, you have to at least win a playoff game. You don't want to go a full decade without winning a playoff game. You gotten smoked the last several games that you've played in the playoffs. Get into the playoffs and win a playoff game. I think a lot of Steelers fans would be happy with that, and then how you build on that. You get into the dance, though, anything can happen. There's going to be a year where a 7th seed gets in and goes on a run and wins the Super Bowl. Steelers in 2005, a team was a 6th seed, first 6th seed to go on and win the Super Bowl. It's going to happen where we see a 7th seed sneak in, get hot at the right time, and go and win the whole thing. It's going to happen at some point in our lifetime. TaylorMade checking in saying about sneaks were ill-advised. I'm with you at the end of the game. I would have kicked a field goal. You're up 15 points at that point. You kick a field goal. Boswell is super reliable to make it an 18-point game, and then that's a 3-score game. I would have kicked the field goal there. It doesn't end up mattering, but that's just my 2 cents worth. Lifelong fan checking in again saying, Russ knows the offense. Russ anticipates. Russ has the touch. Yeah. And he gets the ball to Pickens. Like that to me is you've got to figure out ways to get him the football, not just on a go ball. How can you get him involved in your offense consistently? TaylorMade with another funny comment. This is hilarious. I love this. This is great. Can Washington, I think you mean Darnell Washington, take a handoff instead of sneaking, please? Russ is in year 13. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He did convert on his sneaks. Any quarterback in the NFL has to have the ability to do this. Certainly, you don't want to see him get injured. Certainly, he's smaller than a lot of the other guys on the field. But this would be, oh man, turning the ball off and handing it to Darnell Washington. I would keep getting him the football. I like that Russ got him involved in the game plan tonight. 4 catches for Washington. Can you imagine having to tackle him in the flat? Oh my God, like 6'7", close to 300 pounds going downhill at you. No thanks. Having to do that. We're almost into November. November, December, January in the cold, maybe when it's either freezing or it's snowing. Oh gosh. But hey, get him the football. He's a big guy, he's a big target, and he's a load to bring down. I liked seeing him involved in the offensive game plan and getting him the ball tonight. That's Darnell Washington at the tight end position. Russ saying, give Tomlin credit for putting Russ in there. He hit the open receivers. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Rich checking in saying, coming into the season, I thought Fields was a bust and that Wilson was washed. Happy to be proven wrong. Yeah, I think a lot of Steelers fans feel that sentiment, Rich. Rich, thank you for checking in. And yeah, I mean, Fields, 25 years old, got a pretty raw deal in Chicago, if we're being honest. Didn't surround him with a lot of talent there. Then Russ hasn't played great the last 2 years in Denver. Was better last year. 2022 was a train wreck. When they fired Nathaniel Hackett mid-season, it looked like, okay, Russ's best days are behind him. I want to see Russ put some games together, though. Because even when he was back in Seattle, he wasn't that dude that he was when the Legion of Boom was rolling. Like, go prove the doubters wrong if you're Russell Wilson. Put it together for multiple games, and you want to know what both of these players, whether it's Wilson or Fields, how do you think both of them feel thinking that no other teams wanted them? Any other team could have had either of these players. The Steelers go get both for less than $5 million combined. Look, are you going to win a Super Bowl with either? Probably not this year. But compared to a lot of the other quarterback play in the NFL, neither of those guys is capable of being a starter, a capable starter at that. Credit Omar Khan and company for taking advantage. And that's got to weigh in the back of their mind when they're playing some of these quarterbacks week in and week out, where it's like, you'd rather have this? Really? Seriously? Okay. And they're making the most of their opportunities. Fields, even at 4-2, stats aren't all the way there, but doing what he needed to do in his opportunities. Russ did what he needed to do with his opportunity tonight. And you got to go beat the Giants next week. That is a game you can't lose if you're the Steelers. If you want to go on a postseason run, that team, from what I saw today, mustering 3 points against Philly, go TCB, and let's take care of business when you're in prime time again on Monday Night Football a week from now. That's a game you have to win, considering the Steelers' strength of schedule on the back half of the year. Lifelong fans saying they're the best special teams in the NFL. Once upon a time, you couldn't say that. Pretty good. You had a punt block last week. You had a blocked field goal this week. Pretty good from Danny Smith's unit. The punting's been much better this season, too. Much, much better. And Boswell's as good as it gets when it comes to the ability to make field goals. So you're not wrong there. You're not wrong there. A lot of comments, a lot of people weighing in. We got 63 people watching live right now. DJ saying we'll be 6-2 at the bye. I'm with you. I am with you. I'd expect to be. Autumn saying the same thing. We will be 6-2 at the bye. I don't think it's a guarantee that you win, but like I'd imagine you're going to be favored by more than 3 against the Giants again. Let me check to see if BetOnline's posted that game line yet against the Giants in Week 8. Let me pull that up to see if that line is out. And I'm not seeing it on BetOnline. Other books may have that. Steelers have to take care of business at home as well. I thought that was another thing too. I mean, this came across on the screen. I thought the home fans were terrific tonight. I really thought that rallied the Steelers. I really think that home field advantage makes a difference. Just the energy in Acrisure Stadium. That came across on the TV broadcast. I can't even imagine what it would have been like to be at the stadium tonight. A lot of people weighing in. 4.5 is what they're saying for the Steelers right now. So we will see. Again, you've got the Giants on Monday Night Football. I'm fascinated to see, is it going to be Daniel Jones? Is it going to be Drew Lock? I don't know what Brian Daboll and company are going to do. I don't think it really matters. I don't think it really matters if you're the Steelers. Steelers tonight, 37-15 winners against the New York Jets. I think I got to all the comments. A lot of people are going to be excited about this. You're going to start Russell Wilson yet again, I'd imagine, a week from now. I think Fields will probably play again at some point. Do you design a sub package for him? Could you use him in red zone situations? How the Steelers play this out, again, going into this year was going to be one of the most fascinating things to watch. But Russell Wilson's debut, despite a rocky start, went about as good as you could have hoped if you're a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers. My name's Mark Bergin. This has been the live reaction postgame show for the Bleav in Steelers show. If you enjoyed listening, Apple and Spotify, please leave a 5-star review on YouTube. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We'll be back this week getting you ready for week 8. The season is flying by when the Steelers host the Giants on Monday Night Football. So we'll get you ready for that game. And then keep an eye out for Tomlin Tuesday as well. I'm sure there's some news coming out of that as well. The Steelers winners tonight. Now 1-2 straight, and hopefully you can get another win and go 6-2 if you can take care of business against the Giants going into the bye week. Again, my name's Mark Bergin. Enjoy the rest of your nights, the rest of your weekends. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care and so long, everybody.